flight EI176 Aer Lingus, Dublin to London Heathrow on Friday the 5th of July on an Airbus A320-200. Scheduled to take off at 5 p.m. with a flight time of 1 hour and 20 minutes. We dropped the rental car we'd had for the week in Ireland and we caught the little shuttle to Terminal 2. Dublin has two terminals and they are right next door to each other. Both of them are quite small and a little bit cramped. I totally don't understand why there isn't just one big one. Check-in with Aer Lingus was somewhat of a challenge. In fact, everything with Aer Lingus was a bit of a challenge. This was the first of 4 flights on our way between Dublin and Wellington. When we booked it, for reasons I totally do not understand, we weren't able to link the flights together. So on this flight, we were just going from Dublin to London and we'll need to pick up our bags in London and check them in again to go to Wellington. Like most airlines, Aer Lingus has moved to self-check-in so that you can do the work of checking in yourself, and that saves them people and it saves you a little bit of time. Well, that's the theory anyway. Following the on-screen instructions, I placed my bag on the scale. It then said to scan a boarding pass, which I did not have, so I had to push another button to get a boarding pass. Then once I had my boarding pass, I placed my bag back on the scale, scanned my boarding pass and got a bag tag.
Follow the on-screen instructions. Do not remove the stickers.
Suddenly we went from getting no instructions at all to getting step-by-step instructions suitable for a 2-year-old. So I dutifully performed the function that used to provide someone with a living wage. Got my bag tag on, took it over to part 2 where you put the bag on the little belt and it scans it. If everything goes smoothly, this is pretty amazing. And if you fly with Aer Lingus often, you've probably got this down pat, but this is our first time ever flying with Aer Lingus and we totally didn't know what we were doing. Everything went super well for my check-in, but not everything went so smoothly. First thing we wanted to do was add some more baggage and select some seats. So before we got here, we tried to get our travel agent to do it. She said she wasn't able to and we had to do it on the website. The website and the app said we couldn't do it because we had to go to the counter. When we first arrived in Ireland, I went to the counter and they said they couldn't do it, our agent had to. Okay. Then they said, it's okay, just show up with the excess baggage and we'll charge you at the time. Yeah, like 3 times as much. Great. We specifically chose Aer Lingus because it wasn't a budget airline. Maybe we got that wrong. Second thing, the kiosk didn't recognise my wife, so we wandered over to ticket assistance where the line moved quite slowly, and when we got to the front they weren't exactly solution focused, but we did manage to get my wife's booking reference out of them. So then we went back over to the kiosk to check her in, and everything seemed to go swimmingly, but then the bag machine rejected her bag. Why did it reject her bag? We thought maybe it couldn't read the tag, so then we changed over to the machine I'd just used successfully. It also rejected the bag. It thought the weight had changed. Turned out one of her wheels had been caught on the check-in machine and it had underweighed her bag. It then thought she'd added 2 kilos to it, so even though it was still under our baggage allowance, the bag was rejected. Awesome work, Aer Lingus. Nice. So then we had to go join the line of numpties, and we stayed in that line forever because it was filled with families with young children and, well, numpties. But when we finally did get to the front of the line, we met the best Aer Lingus employee in the world. She not only sorted out my wife's bag in no time flat, she also got us seats together and I got a window seat. Yippee! So, for having no way of overriding a machine that's gone rogue without having to join a line for half an hour, I'm going to give Aer Lingus -2 points. Ouch, we're not even on the plane yet. But for having the best employee in the world, I'm going to give you a +1. That nets out to -1. Stink work, Aer Lingus. So we went upstairs and headed over to the security line. It took the entire advertised 17 minutes to get through security, then we were forced fed through the shops and off to our gate. Because England and Ireland are both in the EU, there was no passport control. Yippee! Some airports are way too small, some airports are way too big, and a very small number are just right. From this experience, Dublin Airport is clearly in the first group. Everything is just a little bit crowded and a little bit chaotic. Look at this boarding on this Ryanair flight. People are meandering all over the place. Madness. At some airports, people sit around until boarding is called, and at other airports, the complete opposite happens. People line up 12 to 15 hours before boarding is called, just to make sure they're first in line. Dublin appears to be one of those airports. By the time we got to the gate, the line was almost fully formed. But not for this camper. I was off taking video of planes, or well, gates where planes might be if there were planes. This flight, Aer Lingus Flight 176, departed from gate 413 at Dublin Airport. According to this report, it was on time, but it was scheduled for 5 o'clock and took off at past, which is half an hour late. It then made up the time in the air and landed on time at London Heathrow. It was probably worth the extra fuel to make sure they didn't miss their landing slot at one of the busiest airports in the world. Boarding was straightforward and reasonably efficient. We wandered down the air bridges and got on the plane. We'd originally been seated in different rows way down the back, but the most awesome employee in the world had put us together in row 7. Exciting! From memory, I had 3 interactions with the crew. Here comes the first one.
Hello. Good, how are you? Thank you.
Wow, pretty inspirational stuff. I can tell already this flight's going to be a bundle of laughs. So we got ourselves buckled in and then we pushed back from gate 413.
They're not be used during taxi, takeoff or landing, and must be stowed either in your cabin baggage underneath the seat in front of you or in the overhead lockers provided.
So this map is a little bit out of date. The runway at the northern end here is no longer in use, and there is a new terminal, Terminal 2, which we left from. We departed from gate 413 of Terminal 2. We taxied down to runway 28 and then we took off to the west.
This car contains important safety information. Please study it carefully before departure.
With such a short taxi, you'd think it would take no time at all, but then we parked up for 7 or 8 minutes and just sort of sat there. Total taxi time 11 minutes. I'm guessing it's because we left late and missed our departure window, so we just had to wait around and wait for a gap. Having said that, we didn't see many comings or goings. Dublin Airport has just over 600 flights a day, and at 5:30 PM I'd have expected to see a few planes landing or taking off or even just taxiing. There wasn't really much going on. Kind of a bit odd. It was crowded on the inside and there's nothing going on the outside. There's a couple of Ryanair planes using runway 34 as a taxiway, but apart from that, just us. Okay, here we go. We're gonna take off. After takeoff, we flew over some beautiful Irish countryside with its patchwork of meadows and fields. How lovely! And then we did a big U-turn and headed out to the east, over the Irish Sea and then in over Holyhead and Liverpool before turning to the southeast and heading down to London. There was extensive cloud cover over the first part of this journey, so there wasn't much to see out the window. But let's bring our focus back indoors. How was the snack? Well, it turns out that on Aer Lingus there is no snack. I mean, no snack. Nothing. There is literally nothing complimentary on this plane. Nothing. I'm sorry, United. All is forgiven. Bring me some pretzels and water. On this flight, water will cost you €3, and it comes in a plastic bottle that's going to kill the planet. Sorry, planet! A cup of tea costs €3.50. A cup of tea, €3.50. That's 7 of my New Zealand dollars. I'm not going to pay that much for tepid water with a tea bag waved in it. Oh, Aer Lingus, this is not looking good. Now, if you've watched my other videos, watch my other videos. Watch them now. Well, not right now. Watch them after this video. And when you do, or when you did, or after you have, you'll know that there's usually some way I can give an extra point. I can squeak something out of somewhere, but give me something to work with, Aer Lingus. Something. What am I supposed to do? Oh no, the misery. It's gotta be a 0. You're already on a -1 before we took off, and now this 0, it's not gonna help anything. Luckily I had this bag of crisps, so I didn't starve to death. Phew. Okay, onto the plane. This plane, EI176, an Airbus A320, was manufactured in December 2005, making it 13 and a half years old when we took this flight. And Aer Lingus have had it since it was absolutely brand spanking new. The plane is configured with 174 economy class seats. And as I said before, we were sitting in row 7. This is a very standard configuration for an A320, 29 rows of 6 seats each. I don't quite know how Aer Lingus had managed to give such limited leg room in such a standard configuration. My knees were pretty much touching the seat in front, and I'm only 180 centimeters tall. That's 5'11" for you metric deniers out there. The seats were comfortable enough and were covered in that wash and wear leather that airlines are renowned for. The overhead panel had reading lights and little air vents. There was no entertainment system that I could see. The overhead lockers were pretty standard, and nobody that I saw had any trouble getting standard carry-on baggage in there. Nobody that I saw had crazy oversized carry-on baggage that you see in some jurisdictions, not looking at anyone in particular, United States, which was a fantastic benefit to everyone. There was plenty of room to store your stuff. Overall, the plane was well maintained and everything worked as it should. My seatback tray hadn't been wiped between flights, which is just a little bit grubby. There was no in-flight entertainment system, but for an hour and a half that was fine. I'm going to give this plane 7 out of 10. I am being slightly generous here. I feel like overall Aer Lingus' score is going to be kind of woeful, and I just don't want to make it too sad. We tracked to the southeast and then turned further east. Then we did a big U-turn over London. We then flew west into London Heathrow. Sitting on the right-hand side of the aircraft, I got some pretty awesome views as we came in over London. Woohoo! This view of London Heathrow wasn't one of them. I took this footage the week before on the way from Frankfurt to Dublin. I took that myself. Pretty cool, huh? Anyway, we approached to the west and landed on 27R. We then taxied all the way around the terminals and pulled up at gate 21 of Terminal 2A. London's Heathrow Airport has 1,169 flights every single day, and that makes it the 7th busiest airport on the entire planet. Wow!
Please stow your table. Ensure your seat back is in the fully upright position with the armrest down.
As we flew in over London, the views were fantastic. We even got to see Buckingham Palace. That's where the Queen lives. Cool. Well, she lives there sometimes when she's not living at one of her other residences or palaces or, estates. So final approach was pretty smooth. The landing was a little bit bumpy. I'm always surprised when landings aren't totally awesome on runways that are massively long and wide. I mean, these pilots have got all the time in the world to just ease on in. Why do I get a bump here? Pilots coming in on shorter runways with worse conditions totally touch down totally smoothly. What's going on there? Okay, here we go. Could you talk a little bit faster there, mate? Wow. Had no idea what that guy said. Something about staying still, airport, terminal, something, baggage. We turned left away from the runway to go around the terminal buildings and came across this beautiful big Qantas A380. Probably came Sydney, Singapore, and might have come Melbourne, Dubai, but do like an A380. After crossing over to the other side of the terminals, we taxied beside the runway that was being used for takeoffs. I almost missed this 787. Look at it. Ooh, do like that. As we taxied along, we saw one more taking off, and then we turned left into our terminal, and out my window I could see a long line of aircraft queued up to take off. Oh, have I mentioned I like busy airports? As I mentioned before, we took off half an hour late and pulled up at the gate 3 minutes early, which is absolutely outstanding and worthy of extra points. 2 points to Gryffindor. We could have missed a connection because of that delay. Not only the delay, but we would have missed our landing window, and the next one might have been 30 or 40 minutes out. Excellent work, Aer Lingus. Here comes my third and final interaction with the crew.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
My second, which I don't have a recording of, was when they came by with the trolley and we quizzed them about how much things cost. Everyone disembarked in a nice and orderly way, and we reasonably quickly got through Terminal 2 at Heathrow to baggage claim, and our baggage claim carousel was the very first one we saw when we came through the door. So that was easy. It was a little bit of a wait until our bags came off, but joy of joys, our bags came off. Hooray! Our bags made it to London. We now have to take them around and check them back in, but super exciting that they got here. That'll be a real downer if it hadn't even got through the first of our 4 flights. But to be honest, I'm still a little bit disappointed that I couldn't check them all the way through. Being an internal EU flight, we get to go through the blue lane. So it's sort of a domestic flight, even though it's from Ireland to England, because both Ireland and England are members of the European Union at the time we took this flight. Flight EI176 is finished. Let's sum up while we wander out of the terminal and have some of that fresh London air. The snack? Well, there was no snack. If they'd at least given us a glass of water, I could have given them an easy 5, but it's gotta be 0. The plane was 13 years old and had been well maintained. That's a 7. We never feared for our lives and we made it to our destination, but it was sort of rubbish. That's an average of 3.5. Ouch! And if you recall, there's a penalty -1 for having a woeful check-in process. Oh no, I feel sort of terrible. That's 2.5. That's shocking. Thank goodness operations decided to make up that 30 minutes. Boom, boom. 2 extra points. That puts us on 4.5. Still not great. Aer Lingus, lift your game. Pull your socks Get it up. Together. Come on, Aer Lingus, you can do better than that. Aer Lingus, you're a bit below average. Here we are then, 5 hours in London. Enough time to grab a coffee, then check in and head to the lounge to wait for our next flight, flight 2 of 4 on our way between Dublin and Wellington. Please subscribe and watch every single video we ever make.